Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Rocky Top Review, Mix 1041, Talk 1013, and on Mix TV, our brand new digital TV channel at mymix1041.com, and presented by CHI Memorial Imagine Better Health. I'm Steve Hartline, along with, there they are, you've heard of Larry, and then there's Daryl and Daryl. There they are, everybody. We're on the field. Look at the graphics Austin Chadwick's done. We're joined by Steven Shelton, Jason Cox. Good evening, gentlemen. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Steve?
Well, still here, yeah. Got a story for you up top. So last night, we're taping this on Thursday, but last night, I was asleep in my recliner at about 20 minutes after 8 p.m. on a Wednesday night. Of course, I was still recovering from the Shekinah glory of the midweek worship. And I get a text message from the leader of the VOLS network, Glenn Thaxton. Thaxton says, quote, I want you to call in and ask Coach Pruitt a question with Bob Kessling. And he gives me the inside line of the VOLS network.
Right.
I instantly text Shelton and said, what do I ask? I really, I was, and so Shelton gave me a question.
Right.
And then, so I call in, and Pruitt was already gone. So I got stuck talking to Bob Kessling and Brent Hubbs, sitting at Calhoun's.
Yeah.
And so my question for Kessling was, how many appetizers have you had at this point?
And for Brett Hubbs, how many? Never mind. That's fine.
Come on.
You know what's crazy about that story is I've read on the message boards the last day or so that they only had like one phone call in that whole setting. So apparently Thaxton texted you because literally they were getting no phone call. So I guess you were the one phone call.
I must have been the one because when they said Steve from Cleveland, and I just said, I said hello, and Kessling just exploded. He just, they were desperate. But anyway, well, guys, speaking of desperate,
here we are.
Here we are, guys. Shelton, I'll begin with you.
Yeah, desperate is a good word. The only good thing that's happened to the Tennessee Vols the last week or so is COVID. I mean, that's the only thing that saved them this past week. So Auburn, now we go to Auburn, and it is what it is, gentlemen. It is what it is.
Jason?
I mean, I'm just glad I didn't have to sit here last week with Steven Shelton to my right. It would have been just awful having to hear him
rail. Right I was.
Yeah, how awful to hear him rail about how bad the Tennessee football program is right now. And I don't think I could have disagreed with any of it.
Yeah. I think I prophesied that. I said Arkansas would beat Tennessee, and they did beat Tennessee. And this program is, again, no better off. Michigan and Tennessee, or we're the Michigan of the Big Ten, and they're the Tennessee of the SEC. And I just think that if you look at this program, we are no better off than we were when we ran Butch Jones out. And it's just you've given this guy 3 years, and we keep hearing the same excuses. And we're starting to get a little Butch Jones talk. If you're listening to some of his press conferences, I'm not against Coach Pruitt as a coach. But you better find some guys around you that can coach a little better and coach these guys up, because it's not his responsibility to get quarterbacks ready. But if your former Heisman Trophy winner, Chris Weinke, can't get them ready, get rid of him. Let T. Martin get them ready. You got to find somebody to get these guys ready, because they're not prepared whatsoever.
And I think I've said this before. I'm just shocked that these coaches aren't coaching these guys up. I mean, answer this, Shelton. Of the football players up there right now, who's taken a step forward over the past 12 months?
None.
I mean,
Zero.
We saw Nigel Warrior last year just explode on the scene. Yeah. We saw Daniel Batuli take huge steps forward. But who's stepping forward now?
I don't even think Henry Toa is as good as he was last year. Yeah. I mean, some of that was Batuli being on the field, of course. But there is not one player on that field that is better. Eric Gray, you might be able to say, he's not as shifty as he once was, and I think Coach Graham, you can put a lot of stock in that with him. But you've got to look at this team, and other than outside of Eric Gray, there's not a guy that's better than he was. Josh Palmer was great; they just didn't throw him the ball last year. He's just as good as he was. So you're right.
And it just shocks me, because I really thought these guys were football coaches. They've got the history, they've got the pedigree to say these guys know how to coach ball. They know how to coach them up. but they haven't done it this year. It's just shocking.
So
to me.
what is it?
Well, I mean,
What's the problem?
the problem, when you get to college sports and college athletics, it's much different than high school. High school, you're still coaching these guys how to play the game. You get to this point in their career, a lot of this is motivation. Motivating these guys to want to win, motivating these guys to be dedicated in the weight room, motivating. It's about motivation, and I don't know if these guys are motivators. I don't know how well they can motivate or keep guys motivated. And you can see that, Alabama, they continue to motivate guys to be the best. How much do you have to coach a guy that's a 5-star linebacker coming in Alabama? You just got to say get on the field, but you got to keep him motivated. And that's where there's so many things between the ages of 18 and 22, as we well know, that your mind wanders off to and drifts off to. And so motivation and keeping these guys focused, and I just think that's where we're missing the bucket.
I thought Kirk Herbstreit had an interesting point last week on College Game Day when he said what we're beginning to see are guys opting out. They are maybe using COVID as an excuse because now when their teams are out of it, when their teams are no longer in title contention or really anything meaningful, he's beginning to see a pullback. He was not talking about a specific team, but an overall situation in college football.
Absolutely. I believe that 100%.
All right, it is Rocky Top Review, Mix 104.1. Also Talk 101.3. We're getting ready. We're on Mix TV as well, our new digital TV channel at mymix1041.com. And we're getting ready for Tennessee at Auburn on the Plains tonight, 7 o'clock kickoff here on our stations, Mix 104.1, Talk 101.3, powered by Tennessee Valley Federal Credit Union. But as we've been doing this year, and we've received some wonderful feedback on this, we are sticking to the SEC. And, of course, my Ivy League was canceled, so I don't even have the Ivy League game of the week. LSU will be at Arkansas. Now, this has already happened. We're taping this Thursday. And we know we're on there about 5. What do you think happened? This was a noon game today. We'll begin with you, Jason Cox.
Well, this is kind of like a bowl game. You come in and you wonder where LSU's head is in this game. Do they want to play? Do they want to be there? They're 2-3 coming into this game. They're only a 2.5-point favorite over Arkansas. Arkansas is on an upward trajectory. Sam Pittman's really got things rolling there. They've got a quarterback in Felipe Franks that's got some big-time arm talent, at least. Rakeem Boyd taking the ball from him. And so to me, on the field, LSU is far and away more talented, but they just haven't shown it this year. So I think the question is, where's their head at? I'm going to go with the talent on this one and take LSU, but I could see Arkansas winning the game.
Yeah, I think you think about Arkansas in years past, Darren McFadden's and the guys it's always been more of a running. They've been a running team, and when they brought Sam Pittman in, an old offensive lineman, Sam Pittman, they're going to ground and pound. That's what everybody thought. They're going to go back to just running Arkansas football, but all of a sudden you look up, and in 7 games, Felipe Franks has thrown 202 passes. He's completed 138 of those for 1,678 yards and 16 touchdowns. So this is an air attack, really, that Sam Pittman has brought to Arkansas. I think the Razorbacks move to 4-4, and LSU's dumpster fire continues.
Mm-hmm. All right. Also a noon game, which was earlier today, Florida at Vanderbilt. I would say our panel will have a pretty short and sweet prediction here on what happened, but Florida definitely the team in the Eastern Division of the Southeastern Conference playing at Dudley Stadium noon earlier today. Shelton.
Well, this is Coach Mason's last year at Vanderbilt. He's gone after this season, but I will say this, and I'll go ahead and get it out of the way. I was wrong. Nobody pass out.
What?
I know. I was wrong. You picked Florida at the beginning of the year.
I
did. To win the East. They're going to win the East. I thought, which a lot of players were out. We can talk about that if you want. But
here we go.
But at the end of the day, Florida did win the football game over Georgia, although Georgia was depleted a little bit. But Florida is going to win the East. And I'm going to tell you, Kyle Trask, Florida is this much away from upsetting Alabama in the SEC championship game. I truly believe that. I think that they have Alabama has matchup problems with Florida. at receiver, at tight end. I think Florida's defense is fast enough to slow down that Alabama offense. And Kyle Trask, if he doesn't win the Heisman, it means that he has broken his leg or done something terrible the last 3 games of the season. So I just think that Florida rolls in this game. And if these are the type of games, though, Jason, you don't leave Kyle Trask in too long, because that's when people get careless and all of a sudden you get a tweaked ankle or a broken leg or something crazy like that. And so, but Florida rolls in this game, and Coach Mason, hats off to him. There's so many things against him at Vanderbilt, from recruiting to the academics, and just a tough job.
Yeah, he could come be our defensive coordinator anytime he wanted to, because he's a defensive coach, and I like what he's done at Vandy, but he just couldn't get it done. He couldn't get over that hill completely. Florida's going to win this game fairly easily. My friend David Myolan told me early in the season about Kadarius Toney. He's kind of been their
Dr. Dave.
Yeah, Dr. Dave, their breakout wide receiver. 396 receiving yards and 6 touchdowns already. But I texted you two during the Georgia-Florida game and said, not Kyle Trask, but Kyle Pitts may be the best football player in college football right now.
No, he's not. No, he's not. Maybe he is.
I mean, he's
the best football player.
If you've not watched him play this season, holy smokes.
He is, from a tight end standpoint, he is almost like an Antonio Gates wrapped up with a little bit of Randy Moss.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy is just incredibly physically gifted, and if you throw it within his area code, he's catching it.
Yeah, and you can't put a safety on him. That's a mismatch. You can't put a cornerback on him. That's a mismatch. Certainly a linebacker couldn't stay in his area code. The kid is fantastic to watch, and he'll be on my fantasy football team next year, I promise you.
All right, guys, we're going to take our first break right here. It's Rocky Top Review, Mix 104.1 and Talk 101.3. Getting ready for Tennessee at Auburn tonight. Kickoff at 7 o'clock. Right here on our radio stations, and you can listen live. Download the free Mix 104.1 app at mymix1041.com. Oh, by the way, we're still taking entries for $1,000 in Black Friday shopping cash courtesy of Chick-fil-A. So download the app and do that. That's the only way you can register. We're back in just a moment. Rocky Top Review also on Mix TV. Back with more Rocky Top Review, a part of our Tennessee pregame and our coverage right here on Mix 104.1, Talk 101.3, and the new Mix TV, our digital TV channel, mymix1041.com. Kentucky plays at number 1 Alabama. Jason Cox, will begin with you.
Well, this one is similar to ones we've already talked about. I don't think it's going to be close. Bama's going to win this one. But I could see Kentucky fighting for a half or so with them. Mac Jones comes into the game over 2,000 yards, 16 touchdowns. Najee Harris is at 14 touchdowns. This Alabama offense is impressive. Their defense isn't as good as past Bama defenses, but they're still pretty stinking good. I'll take Bama in a runaway on this one.
Yeah, I mean, Kentucky barely beat Vanderbilt by 3 last week. Kentucky, I think after that Tennessee win, they have a really tough loss there, and now you're looking down the barrel of a double barrel shotgun with Alabama, and Kentucky goes down. I think Kentucky gets blown out today, actually.
Mississippi State playing Georgia at Georgia. Kickoff at 7:30 between the Hedges and Athens tonight on the SEC Network. Shelton, let's start with you.
This is going to get ugly. Georgia's not very happy after the game against Florida. Mississippi State is not very good. I think Georgia's trying to make a statement, because Georgia, in their mind, if Florida gets another loss here, Georgia, in their mind, still has a chance to play for the SEC championship. So I think they're going to blow the doors off everyone this point forward.
Well, and I don't know if you saw the news, but JT Daniels has been named the starting quarterback in Athens. So he's
probably
transfer
2 weeks, 2 weeks too late.
Probably, and nobody's been able to tell why he hadn't been starting before, whether he was still injured, whether he just wasn't ready. But he's starting this week. That Georgia team has always come down to quarterback play. That's why I picked Florida in preseason to beat them, just because that quarterback position was just so uneasy, and so they're hoping JT Daniels is the answer. But yeah, early on we were impressed with the Pirate at Mississippi State, but
1 week.
Yeah, 1 week, and very quickly those SEC defenses just said, "Well, we won't rush anybody. We'll put everybody back in coverage," and they just simply haven't been able to score since then. So yeah, Georgia's going to win this one big today.
And last pick in this segment is going to be Missouri at South Carolina. Of course, South Carolina fired their coach, Will Muschamp, or what do you call him, Shelton?
Muschamp.
Missouri at South Carolina. Mike Bobo, the interim coach for the Gamecocks tonight, 7:30. And Cox, let's begin with you.
South Carolina's mailed it in. They've got guys opting out, as you mentioned, from Herbert Street, left and right. Missouri's heading upward. Connor Bazelak came in the second half against us early in the season. He's done pretty well since then. Young freshman quarterback Larry Roundtree III carrying the football, senior running back. I think Missouri wins this one, and I think they win it easily today.
Yeah, the big question now around South Carolina is, the media is acting like this is an Alabama opening all of a sudden. I mean, you've got names being thrown out. I saw Urban Meyer. They're thinking that it was like Urban Meyer could be the next Lou Holtz, Steve Spurrier, Urban Meyer, his last landing spot. I'm thinking USC's coming available. Urban Meyer is going to USC if it comes available. Just mark it down. I mean, if they don't get James Franklin out of Penn State, they're going after Urban Meyer. And so, but whether it's Hugh Freeze or whether it's Will Healy, I mean, you've got names getting thrown all over the board about the South Carolina job. The question is does Will Muschamp land himself in Knoxville?
Wow. In what capacity?
Defense coordinator, because he and Coach Pruitt are really good friends, and so they've coached together in years past. And there's a lot of scuttle right now that he could be one of the members of, because I think Pruitt at the end of this year, Coach Pruitt's got a decision. Do I go down with the ship, which is why Coach Fulmer got fired? If we want to go back in history, Coach Fulmer got fired because he was too loyal to guys that had become complacent after winning a national championship. Okay, well, Coach Pruitt's got to either go down the same avenue as Coach Fulmer and stay loyal to these guys, or we start getting some new faces in here to try to save this thing before he gets fired. And so if he makes it through the end of the season. So I think Will Muschamp, though, is one of those guys that is looking for a landing spot softly, that there's not a lot of huge expectations, and, well, Knoxville right now would be the place to come.
We mentioned Will Muschamp fired by South Carolina. Are there any – let's talk hot seat now here at this time of the year. I'll go to both of you. Who's on the hot seat in college football?
Clay Helton's gone. USC, he's done. I think if you look at, Will Muschamp was one that was on my radar. By the way, you guys laughed at me 3 weeks ago. Ed Orgeron is on the hot seat in LSU.
Really?
The word coming out of Baton Rouge is there's a lot of things going on inside that football program that could land him outside that football program. I think Les Miles at Kansas, his time has come and gone. I think he could be gone there as well. But the problem is with COVID, there's a lot of programs that are unable financially to fire their coaches because the income is just not there. And so it's a very difficult. So if you pull the trigger this year, you have got to make sure you've got your guy in place. And the same thing with Vanderbilt. I think Derek Mason's gone. But inside the SEC, I could, like I said, I don't think anyone else other than Mason and Muschamp. I don't think, and Coach Pruitt, I think those are the three guys you're looking at.
Jason?
Well, I'll give you two. One is Tom Herman in Texas.
True.
I think he could be in trouble. And the second one's inside the SEC. I was going to hold this for the next segment, but I think the Gus Bus is in trouble because even though they're playing fairly well right now, they still have Bama and A&M left. They've been wanting to run him out of the Plains for several years now. That buyout's starting to come down a little bit. I don't think they beat Bama. I don't think they beat A&M. That ends the season at 6-4. I think the people in the Plains at 6-4 are going to be ready for change at that point.
The hot seat is getting hotter as it does this time of year around college football. You're on Rocky Top Review, watching on Mix TV, on our digital TV channel, MyMix1041.com, and on Mix 1041 and Talk 1013. Counting down to the Vol Network coming up here in just a few minutes, their pregame. The kickoff call-in show, and then Tennessee Auburn kickoff 7 o'clock right here. We're back in a moment. Back for a final segment of this week's edition of Rocky Top Review, presented by CHI Memorial. CHI Memorial, don't forget Memorial Convenient Care, Public Shopping Center. Get your flu shot, and you can do that without leaving your vehicle at Memorial Convenient Care. I do want to hit before we go to the Tennessee-Auburn game, guys. The SEC Championship still set for, I believe, December the 19th. Is that right?
Yes.
So I was just talking about some of I think Shelton, you believe Florida, Alabama, is that right?
Yeah, I don't think any way around it. The only way that you could, Texas A&M would have to have 2 losses. No, tiebreaker would go. So yeah, I mean, Texas A&M upsets Alabama. That's they've already played, haven't they?
Yes. It's been a weird year.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they've already played. So yeah, there's no way of Texas A&M sliding in there because Alabama has no one left that can beat them. I don't think so. Yeah, Alabama's almost a lock now, and I think Florida is mostly a lock. So yeah.
So December 19th still on for now, and the college football playoff set for New Year's Eve, and SEC Championship the 19th at Mercedes-Benz in Atlanta. All right, it is the game that we're looking forward to, obviously, Tennessee at Auburn. I tell you what, Jason, it's kickoff 7 o'clock here on Mix 104.1 Talk, 101.3 in the Mix app. Let's start with you.
Well, 2 years ago, we went down to the Plains and we pulled an upset. It was Garantano's one of his best, maybe his best performance in college. But a lot of that was he just threw the ball up to Marquez Callaway and Juwan Jennings all night long. I mean, all night long we did that. The defense played well. And if you remember coming into that game, Auburn was struggling. The wheels were starting to want to come off, and Tennessee was starting to play a little bit better. There was a little bit of hope going in. There's no hope this week. Tennessee's not winning this game. The way Tennessee wins this game is by playing these young kids. Okay, Pruitt has to be able to sell the future to the fan base and the recruiting base, and it's got to start soon. It's got to be Harrison Bailey under center. It's got to be the young guys catching the balls. It's got to be these kids that Jimmy Holiday, Malachi Wideman, Keyshawn Lawrence, these kids that we haven't seen yet but are highly, highly talented. If you can show some promise with the young kids, that helps the fan base. That helps the recruits that are looking at Tennessee. I don't think Tennessee can win this week. I think the program's heading too far south right now, but they can do some things to help themselves moving forward.
Optics, yeah, they can improve the optics of the program. Tennessee, when they went to Auburn 2 years ago and won, it was a noon game, it was an 11 a.m. game Central for Auburn. It was just one of those deals that they just weren't awake, and I think that Jason's right. They were able to pull a rabbit out of the hat down there a couple years ago. But the best thing that Tennessee's only prayer in this game is that NCAA gets involved. I mean, really.
Your rant last Friday night.
Sorry, McMinn County.
They hope Bernard Childress calls Auburn, and we get that this thing. So anyway, but besides, Tennessee, Coach Pruitt said in his press conference, we're not going to name the starting quarterback, because we don't want to give Auburn a leg up. Leg up? They've already got the whole body up. I mean, you might as well go, because I'm going to tell you, as a Tennessee fan, I've ranted and I've raved and I've praised and I've done all the things you can do as a fan on this show over the last 3 or 4 years, however long we've been doing this. But I think I'm in the same point as a lot of Tennessee fans. You guys may or may not agree. I'm just tired. I'm tired of the emotional investment that we put into this program, the financial investment we put into this program. And the time we take to do stuff like this, the time that people take to listen to shows like this, and I think you saw that in the VOLS call-in show. You get one call. We're tired. We're tired of the excuses. It's like a local high school years ago. They were young. They kept being young every year for 4 or 5, 6 years. They were young. Well, I mean, did you guys not moving these kids up? I mean, you're just playing freshmen. It's just a time that. It's time that we as a fan base either, like Jason said, show us what the future looks like, or we're going to literally see you next year. And I think that's where this program's at. And Tennessee goes down to Auburn, and I think they get railroaded. I think it's a 21-point win by Auburn. I think Gus has a lot to play for, and one of the things he's got to play for is his job, and putting the hammer down on teams like Tennessee is just saying, hey, here's how much better we are right now. This is where we're going, type deal, even if he were to lose to Alabama and Texas A&M.
And to dovetail what you're saying, they're not fun to watch either.
No.
It's not fun to watch your team continually play bad against bad teams and continually get blown out by your rivals. They're just not fun to watch.
Not competing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's hard as a Tennessee fan, a lifelong Tennessee fan. That's just hard to watch year in and year out. Them just simply not be competitive. It's just not fun, and sports are meant to be fun.
All right, guys. I've got to go. I'm so sorry. We've got to move here. For Steven Shelton and, Jason Cox, you had a large say last Friday night, Shelton, as we recall. It did go viral. Hey, it's Rocky Top Review presented by CHI Memorial. Kickoff of Tennessee and Auburn is 7 o'clock tonight. We're about to go to the Vol Network for the kickoff call-in show. Of course, coverage on Mix and Talk 101.3. Listen on your phone or mobile device. Download the free Mix 104.1 app at mymix1041.com, and that's presented by CHI Memorial. For Shelton and Jason Cox, Austin Chadwick, Steve Hartline, good night.